Hi golfers, Nick here from Nick Telegolf. It's Friday, so welcome to another lesson on golf tips. This week on golf tips, I'm going to teach you guys how to move your body in the stack and tilt golf swing. So if you want to hit the golf ball like this, as you can see on the screen there, tight little draw. You can see it's pretty much my standard swing there for stack and tilt, pitched around 160 yards. I'm just using sort of standard 7-iron. You can see on the screen there, about 3 degrees into out, 5 degrees down, 2 degrees closed. 89 miles an hour. So in today's video, I'm going to teach you golfers out there how to move the body like I do to hit golf shots, just like that. As you saw, that was pretty much my standard golf swing using the stack and tilt system. So today's video, I'm going to teach you golfers out there how to swing like that. Very simple, how you're going to start to build this up. On the ground here, we have the grid lines. I've talked about these quite a lot. We have the line on the outside for the club, line on the inside for the hand. So as I swing back here, my hands and club are going to move along these two lines. We call these the grid lines. You've seen these in plenty of videos. I talked about them a lot before, and the reason why they're on an angle is because the golf club's on an angle. If the golf club was made upright, we would swing up and down in a straight line, and this is where a lot of people get confused. Golf is played on an angle, right? We bend forward, the club is angled, we swing this club on an angle around our body, which is where the stack and tilt comes from in terms of the push draw shot that we hit. Because we have the ball set up behind the left shoulder, which is the center point on the grid, that automatically hits down and into out, which produces the draw shape. Now, the club face is important. We have to be able to control that. We also have to do this at speed. So in today's video, I'm going to teach you guys how to stay on the grid, how to move your body in the right way so you don't sway around. I see so many golfers pick up a club, they do this in their swing. I see this day in, day out, and players that don't even think they're doing it, they start to sway their body, they don't tilt their shoulders, and because of that, they have to bend their arms, right, to get any sort of leverage and power. If you move your body, if you sway your body, right, and keep this arm straight, it's very hard to create any power or leverage. Now, some players may do it a little amount, which they can control. Players do it even more, which is even harder to control. And generally, the players that move around the most and sway the most, they tend to bend their arms the most. So we need to try and get you guys out there, learn how to keep your arms straight, keep the club on the correct plane, back and through into the finish. And there's a few simple moves that we have to do in the body, in the hands, that are going to enable you to swing the golf club on the correct plane like I do, on the grid, to help you predict your ball flight. I know placing the ball in a certain position on this grid, I'm going to get different results, and that's probably for another day. I've talked about that a lot before, about different ball positions, but today's video is really going to teach you step by step how to move the hands and the club and the body to help you stay on plane. Now, the first thing we have to do is learn how to take the club back, but before we do that, we have to set up in the correct way. So as we set up here, my feet and knees are turned out, and I set my body slightly to the left. If you don't know how to set up, then check out video from last week talking about the way to set up. I'll put the link in the description below. Now, at setup here, as I'm set up, I've got my weight slightly favoring the left side. Now, this is important to be able to move the club around your body. You have to have that weight set to the left. If you set your weight back and move it back, it becomes so much harder then to swing the club around your body without kind of turning your shoulders too level to the ground. You lose your tilt, you lose so much control over where this club hits the ground. Setup is key. Weight slightly to the left, hands slightly forward, feet turned out. First thing we're going to do is learn how to take the club along these lines here. So we've got the club on the outside line, hands on the inside line. So as I go back here, as I tilt my shoulder down, I'm going to move my hands and my club inwards around my body. Now, some of you may think, oh, that's too much inside, but it's not. This is basically on plane. As I swing back here, I move my hands and club inwards. So many golfers are taught to swing straight down the line. It happens every day. People think they have to swing up and down in a straight line, but no golfer hits the ball like this in a straight line. Every player that plays the game that's any good arcs the golf club, arcs their hands around their body. So you have to learn how to move the hands and the club in the right way. So as I go back here, I'm going to tilt my shoulder, I'm going to move my hands and my clubs inwards here as I go back. Now, as I'm doing this, I'm tilting my shoulder down, I'm changing my knee flex, and what I'm going to start to do is I'm going to start to extend my spine here. So as I go back, I'm not keeping my chest pointing down here. If I put my club in my sternum here, as I go back, I'm starting to extend my spine here, and you can see this from where this club's pointing at the camera here. If I go back and extend, you can see how that club starts to point more upwards. Yeah, the biggest mistake is golfers that stay bent forward in their swing. They stay bent forward in the backswing, and in the follow through, it just makes it so much harder to control this club, as you can see by the shot there. Very simple move, guys. If you can learn how to tilt and extend the spine, this is going to help keep your arm straight. This is going to help you control where this club hits the ground. So the first thing we're going to do is start by just swinging halfway back. So just about where my left arm's parallel, just before P3, and then onto the follow through. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try and squeeze my elbows together. I'm going to tilt my shoulder down. I'm going to move my hands and my club inwards here. So I'm just building up the swing, right? When you're practicing, when you're learning these moves, breaking it down into smaller versions is going to give you so much more control. So many players, they're trying to do a new swing and they start swinging too far and they basically go back to their old habits. So what I'm going to try and do here is tilt my shoulder, straighten my right leg, move my hands inwards. That's going to start the first process here of keeping the club on the correct plane. So this is just going to be up to position 3, or just before position 3 where my left arm's parallel. Tilt my shoulder, move my hands inwards, start to extend my spine back. And then the same on the follow through as I went through there. Same motion, push my hips forward, tilted this, shoulder down. So what we're learning to do here, guys, is learning how to tilt. So tilting is this movement. We're learning how to tilt. We're also learning how to extend the body. So as I set up, I was bending forward, and as I go back, I extend, bend back forward as I hit the ground, and then extend again in the finish. And that's what we're trying to combine here. We're trying to combine a tilt and extend, and a tilt and extend of the spine. If I put my club in my sternum here again, it extends backwards in the backswing, and then upwards again in the follow through. So I'm tilting and I'm extending. This is what's helping me turn. Too many golfers kind of learnt to play golf by trying to swing in a straight line and turn the shoulders and stay too much forward bend. It just makes it so much harder to control the arms and control where the club hits the ground. So if you can start to learn how to tilt and extend, it's going to give you so much more chance there of keeping your arms straight. So if you perform this correctly, guys, you're going to start to realize that you can keep your arms straighter, like I said, all the way back and all the way through. You're going to start to find it easier to hit the ground as we go through. Again, if you don't tilt your shoulder, turn to level to the ground, it's a lot harder to hit the ground, and your arms will start to bend as you try and create leverage in the swing. And it just becomes so erratic, it's hard to keep the club on plane and control where the club hits the ground and also where you hit it on the face. So we're learning step by step here. So we've got the setup, feet, knees turned out, weight to the left, tilting the shoulder, extending the spine. Now, you have to be careful because it's very easy if you overdo this, you start leaning this way. And I see this as one of the biggest mistakes, especially in golfers that are trying to learn the stack and tilt system, is they start to overextend or tilt too much and their head drops down and they move forward. And you have to learn how to coordinate these movements to stay centered. Using a video is important. Head on the wall drill is a good one to learn that feeling, but you have to kind of combine a combination here of the tilt and extension. This is why we start with smaller swings, because if we can just practice like to P3, move the hands in, arms straight on the follow through, if we can do that, then we can start to build up into longer swings. So I wouldn't suggest making full swings, trying to tilt, extend, move the hips forward until you can at least do it to P3 and keep your head stable. You need to make sure that head is staying stable. That's going to tell you that you're doing it the right amount. So from the front view camera, my head staying stable. I'm tilting and turning. My head still turns and tilts towards this camera as I go through. So, but I'm keeping my head stable and moving my hips forward. Very simple move if you can coordinate it, but this isn't easy. Right? This is not, I'm making it look easy what I'm doing here, but I know from teaching so many different golfers, it's easy. It's a lot harder than it looks. So P3 again. Start to speed this up. You can see there, that's up to over 70 miles an hour club head speed, just doing a small swing, and you're able to create a decent amount of speed out of these kind of little swings, then you can start to build it up into a full swing. And this is sometimes the best way to practice, as opposed to just going in full power trying to do this movement. Okay, basically guys, we're just trying to learn how to keep this head stable, tilt the shoulder, move the hands and club inwards on plane. That is so important to see so many mistakes right from that takeaway position. So now we've started to build it up into longer, faster swings. I'm going to now go a little bit longer and further, kind of getting up towards where I would be in a full swing here. So weight to the left, shoulder down, hands in. Same sort of feeling I had just on those previous swings. Now I'm back up to 89 miles an hour where I started today. So I've just gradually, step by step, build it up. You can see 3.7 into out, 6 degrees down, 89 miles an hour, carried 159, almost identical shot to that first shot hit. You can actually see on the screen there on the right hand side, the balls are basically on top of each other. So that was me kind of just building up to that, where I started and where I finished, right? Same shot. But in between there, I was just showing you guys the feelings that you have to try and get when you practice. So when you do practice, sometimes it's quite important that you do break it down. If you just keep hitting balls full power and you don't really see the results, break it down step by step. You saw how I did it there. Start to learn how to tilt and extend, move the hands inwards. If you can do that and control where the club hits the ground in a smaller swing, then you can gradually build it up step by step. Try and build it up with speed first before you start going into those full swings. So hopefully that video helps, guys. Very kind of brief video, really just trying to explain these movements. Now, I didn't go into too much detail there, but I just wanted to just basically teach you guys the feeling that you need to try and get. Overall, you need to keep the head stable, move the hips forward as you swing through. Important that you don't keep the head down for too long. As I went through that, I'm still turning and tilting as well. So hopefully that video helps, guys. If you've got any comments on that, post them in the box below. If you don't already, please follow me on my other social media platforms, and I'll see you again next week for another video. The most